Everyone, Kaveh Sartipi here with Mason-mcduffie Mortgage. Excited to have the man, the legend, the myth, Mr. Barry Habib on our next episode of The Inside Look. Hope you guys can join us. Hey everyone, Kaveh Sartipi here with Mason-mcduffie Mortgage, and I'm excited to have Mr. Barry Habib here with us to tell us a little bit about what's been going on in the market, what's going on with interest rates, and where the market is heading. Barry is recently been awarded the top real estate forecaster by Zillow and
Pulsenomics. It's hard for me to say as well.
Yeah, and also has been awarded the Crystal Ball Award out of the top 150 forecasters out there. So appreciate you coming in and
thanks for having me, man. Oh, are you kidding? Thanks for inviting me to this amazing retreat.
Gorgeous. We're here at Lake Tahoe in Incline Village, and can't ask for better weather and better backdrop here.
Great people, great place.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. So really quick, we just finished first quarter here. Tell us a little bit about what's been going on with interest rates, where we're at today compared to where we were at the beginning of the year.
So interest rates have been on the move, and they're going to move a little bit higher, and it's just a supply and demand issue. It's going to be predominantly driven by the Fed, but not because of what most people think. Most people say, well, the Fed's going to hike rates, this and that. Yeah, that's true, but that won't affect mortgage rates. The real reason why rates are going to be pressured a little bit higher is because you're going to see less Fed buying. You see the Fed's amassed $4.5 trillion between QE1, QE2, QE light, QE3, and now they're trying to unwind it. So the way that it has been up until 2017 is whenever you did somebody's refinance, or they paid off their old mortgage, or somebody had just made the principal payments on their loans, the Fed would take that money, and instead of letting their balances drop, they would reinvest it. It was about $20 billion a month. So now what they've decided since October is said, hey, instead of putting it all back in, we'll cut that back by a little bit, $4 billion a month in mortgages, $6 billion a month in treasuries. Then in January, they ramped that up and said $8 billion less in mortgages, $12 billion less in treasuries. April, right now, they're ramping it up again. So that means instead of buying $20 billion in mortgages, they're buying $8 billion. They're still buying, but it's less. And that means it's got to be made up somewhere. And it's not Asia, because people think, oh, Japan, China. No, they're net sellers of our mortgage bonds. So to incent people to make purchases, you typically have to offer what? A lower price or a higher yield. So you're going to see rates go up, but it's not going to be crazy. Plus inflation's on the rise. So we see rates a little bit higher. It's not going to go crazy. And remember, for the last 45 years, the average rate on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage has been 8.25%. So around 5% is still pretty darn good. Yep. It's free.
Well, my parents always still talk about having rates in the teens.
That's right.
So yeah, 5%, 4.5%, still great.
I put a Facebook post up, hey, what was the rate on your first mortgage that you obtained? Mine was 13. So I get a lot of feedback from people saying, wow, it was 12, it was 10. So rates are still pretty darn good.
Yeah, we got spoiled a little bit.
Yeah, we did.
For a while.
Yeah, we did.
So we've seen rates come up a little bit. We anticipate maybe a little bit more.
I do.
That we see going. On the housing side of things, are you seeing that affect housing as far as home prices and what's out there?
When rates go up, it gives you a little bit of a headwind, but the rule of economics is supply and demand, and that is extraordinarily favorable for housing market right now, and it's going to continue for a long time. So some of the things we discussed together and the stuff that you folks teach your clientele and help your real estate agents understand are things like demographics, and the demographics are so favorable. If you take a look at the median age of a first-time home buyer, it's 33 years old. So go back 33 years ago and you look at the birth rates, and you see that would be 1984, 1985. Well, in the 7 subsequent years to 84 and 85, those birth rates rose. And that means that you're going to have more and more and more demand. At the same time, where land is tight, labor's tight, regulations are tight, builders can't borrow on spec from banks, and it's difficult because the cost of construction's gone up. So building is not going to keep up with demand. What does that mean? That home prices are going to be supported higher, and it doesn't take that much. People forget about the concept of compounding and leverage, so your investment in housing is oftentimes an enormous way to create wealth under the most favorable tax situation you can.
Now, you mentioned, with demand still being pretty high.
Very high, yeah.
Home prices are still going up.
Yes.
And you had mentioned, I think it was about a week or two ago on one of your weekly updates, what's going on with affordability? You know, can affordability keep up?
You know, you bring up such a great point. Okay, so people say, okay, look, home prices going up. Let's just pick a number, say 5%. Don't incomes have to go up 5%? Well, if you take a look at the year-over-year increase in earnings, overall they're about 2.9%. But you know, you have to separate that a little bit. And what people forget is a lot of those individuals take the bottom 25% of those earners. A lot of those are your 17-year-old kids getting their first job. You know, they're working at a fast food place, doing really good and trying to, you know, first get into where they can get some money. They're waiting tables, things like that. Great starting positions, but they're not ready to buy a home. They're not, that's 16, 17, 18, 19, they're not most of the time ready to go make a purchase of a home. So they really shouldn't be counted, and why that's important is because their income actually dropped 2.5% year over year. If you take them out of the equation, incomes went up for the people who are in the game by 4.7%. And if you say, you know what, if home prices go up 5 or 6%, how are they keeping up? The reason why you keep up is because it's not a one-to-one ratio. You see, you don't use all of your income to make the purchase of your monthly payment on that home. So for an example, if you were looking at a home last year and it was a $1,000 a month payment, and you said, I missed the boat, this year that home is a 5% appreciation, so it's got to be more expensive for me. And you say, well, interest rates are pretty close to the same, and they are. They're about a 0.25% difference from last year at this time. So you say, okay, well, 5% increase in that $1,000 a month monthly payment means it's $1,050 this month. So it went up by $50 a month. So that means you got to make $50 a month more in your income to kind of make you feel like you could still keep pace with that. Well, to qualify for $1,000 a month principal and interest, more often than not, your income's about, according to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, I'm using their numbers there, about $5,000 a month. So based on that, if you're making $5,000 a month and your income's got to go up $50, you only need a 1% rise in your income to keep up with 5% in real estate. And I know it's an oversimplification, but I think we just need the concept that it doesn't have to go up in lockstep.
Because that's what you hear a lot from you know, a lot of buyers out there. Like, you know, there's got to be a bubble, and at some point, you know, the home prices can't keep going because incomes aren't keeping up, but they are. They are basically. A
bubble is when you have too much product and you don't have enough buyers. I mean, does anybody in their market today really think that there's too many houses for sale? There's not enough houses for sale, and there's certainly not a dearth of buyers. The buyers that you have out there, those are that's what is the abundance right now. So we've got to figure out a way to get more supply into the marketplace, and it's hard to do because you say, well, we need more people to list their homes. Well, guess what? When they list their home, they're going to go buy a home. So it's a net neutral, it's a net zero, because what they're selling, they're buying and using up inventory. So it's a tricky game and builders can't keep up. So we look for the next several years to be really strong. And you don't have to have 5, 6%. You could get 2%, 3% appreciation and create incredible amounts of wealth in a pretty much tax-free environment.
So still a good time to buy then. You know, interest rates are still relatively low compared to historical averages.
Yes.
Home prices are still inching up, so as far as building wealth, you know, you still have that going for you.
Yes.
And you know, incomes are going up as well. So you know, if you're sitting down with the buyer today, you'd still say, hey, it's still a good time to buy?
Well, look, unless you're going to live with your parents until you're 60 years old, what's your alternative?
Right.
If you think it's difficult to keep up with prices going up on the purchase side, how about rents? And that doesn't stop. You buy the home, you stop that payment going up, okay? If you rent, the national average is 4%, rents increasing every year. And again, don't forget, Albert Einstein said the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. 4%, just figure it out. 4% year over year, and many of your markets are increasing at greater rates than that. It'll turn a $1,500 payment into a $2,000 a month payment in just 7 years.
Very quickly.
So what you really need to do is think about locking yourself in, freezing that increase, and now being the one that capitalizes on it instead of making somebody else's mortgage payment for them and creating wealth for them. Also, don't forget, a large portion of your monthly payment, it's a forced savings plan for you.
Right.
It's your own money. It's like the best kept secret in the real estate world, right? Don't forget the portion of your payment that's principal, because that's going into a forced savings account that will create wealth for you.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you taking the time to meet with us.
It is an honor.
Absolutely.
It's an honor.
Guys, Barry Habib, mortgage back, MBS Highway. Appreciate you coming on board. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.